I want to segue a little bit into supplements and drug use because thankfully I've never been on that road where I've had to have
Yeah.
some sort of pharmacological solution. If I'm sleeping in a new place, I'll have some melatonin, which has always really helped. But I was hoping you could touch on different supplements that are effective. I found magnesium has been super effective for me getting to sleep. The magnesium, sometimes a melatonin combo has been, I'm completely lights out, even though I can be groggy in the morning. So, and there are so many people like, I mean, you listen to any celebrity interview, Xanax or whatever these things that come up are, they're absolutely everywhere. And so I was hoping in your experience, if you have any with supplements and drugs and all these things, I'd love to hear your take on them.
Yeah, so I have a unique perspective in that I am a prescriber, so I can prescribe mental health medications and things that we call Z drugs. So not just benzodiazepines are in their own category, and you had mentioned Xanax, that falls under that category of benzodiazepines. But things like your Ambien, your Sonata, your Lunesta, those are similar to benzos, but they're not the exact same thing, and we call those Z drugs. So I do have
Mm.
the ability to prescribe those. So I kind of have a unique uh, take on this, I think, because I've been a psychologist for a very long time and I've only gotten prescription privileges relatively recently within the past year. So I would say I get questions like this a lot when I do my sleep lectures, and I have a slide and I have a pyramid on the slide. And at the very bottom of the pyramid, the biggest, thickest part is changing behaviors, like we've been talking about. So changing when you eat, changing your caffeine, changing what time you exercise, like just doing behavioral modifications. So having the early morning sunlight. There's tons of different things that
Hmm.
we could talk all day about, but behavioral modifications. And then as we move up the pyramid, the next is environmental modifications. So is your bedroom dark enough? Is it cool? Is it quiet? Do we need a white noise machine? Do you need earphones? Do you need to remove the TV from your bedroom? Again, I recommend removing a lot of different things from the bedroom. Like if you have a work laptop, and I get it, like I know at one point in my life, I was living in New York City and I shared a bedroom. So I understand that there are people who can't make modifications like this. But if you have the
Sure.
luxury of being able to, take out work things from your bedroom, like if you're someone who does a workout in your bedroom and you've got like weights or a kettlebell, like get those things out of the bedroom. Like we want the bed to be reserved for primarily sleep. That's really what it is that we
Right.
want. So again, so it's behavioral modifications, it's environmental modifications, and then if we're still having issues and we're doing a lot of good things day in and day out, and I would say for several weeks, then my next part of the pyramid is maybe it's time for a sleep study. Maybe it's time to see if
Wow.
something's actually going on. And I think that there are so many people who struggle with various different types of issues, but I would say obstructive sleep apnea is a huge one that a lot of people don't realize that they have. I get so many questions when I do sleep lectures about I'm in bed for 8 hours and I still wake up exhausted. I'm unrefreshed. I don't know what's going on. And a lot of times people don't know that they have obstructive sleep apnea. Oftentimes it's a partner or a roommate telling them like, hey, you're snoring, like you're a chainsaw, like something's going on.
You're a walrus. Please,
you
please fix this.
you're out
Right.
of control. And even just yesterday I was speaking to someone, and um they were telling me that they had no idea that they had obstructive sleep apnea, and they were wearing some type of wearable. And now I would say like our wearables are so incredibly advanced. I mean, it's unbelievable. And the wearable that person had on could send information to their doctor. And they were like, Leah, you're not going to believe this, but I was sending all of my information from my wearable to my doctor, and my doctor called me and said, hey, we need to have you come in for a sleep study. And he's like, well, why? What's going on? And he's like, well, I see what's happening on your data, and you're waking up multiple times throughout the night. And I think that we need to test you for obstructive sleep apnea. And lo and behold, he went in, he had a polysomnography, which is a sleep study, and he was diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea. And again, I think
Wow.
whenever people think about obstructive sleep apnea, they think about someone who maybe is older, someone who's heavier in weight. And that's not necessarily the case. Like even children can have obstructive sleep apnea. And this person that I was speaking to yesterday, young, looked to be very fit. And so I think that we have this prototype or like a typical picture in our mind, and that's not necessarily true. So if you're
Right.
someone who thinks, oh, I've been in bed all night long and I don't know what the deal is, like I just drag all day, it could be that. It could be something that needs to be diagnosed. So I would say consulting with a medical professional is the next step. And then finally, to get to your question, as we're getting to the very top of the pyramid, we have over the counter, and then at the very top, we have prescription. So when it
Amazing.
comes to over the counter, I have a lot of thoughts about this. So, as you know, my population, whenever it comes to first responders, whenever it comes to military, we have to be careful about what it is that we're putting into our body. And just as like a public service announcement, when you are walking down your big box store and you see all the powders and the supplements and the creams and the this and that and the gummies, like a vast majority of that is not regulated by the FDA. And so I'm in the United States, so the FDA is the Food and Drug Administration, so they are not regulating what's
Oh, that's
in those
fair. I mean,
products.
even the melatonin, I read an article not too long ago that the melatonin gummies, they have fucking no idea how much melatonin is in there. They did a whole bunch of
Yes.
third-party studies and they're like, this is supposed
Yes.
to have 1 milligram and it has 10. And like, that's a
Yes.
ridiculous difference.
And so I believe that I read the same study as you did. And so they took a bunch of different melatonin brands, send them away to a third party lab. And again, there is so much discrepancy as to what is in that and what's on the label. And so
Right.
there was so much discrepancy. And in the study that I read, there was extremely low levels of melatonin and then over 240% more than what was actually on the label. So that's very concerning. And not only is it concerning, but it's concerning because a lot of parents like to give melatonin to their children. That's concerning for me. I don't do child sleep. That's a whole nother ball game. But if
Right.
we're not exactly sure what's in that, that's problematic. And again, kids
Sure.
are still growing, they're still developing. We do have the ability to sleep well on our own for the most part. And so when we're feeding this to anyone, let alone children, and we're not exactly sure what's in it, that's problematic. In the study that I read, also there sometimes is CBD in gummies like that. And so that's a big problem for
Oh,
my population
God.
because we're not allowed to, we have very, very strict rules and regulations on what it is that we can put into our system. So normally,
Right.
yes, whenever I tell this and I break down this study, I have a similar reaction to what just happened with you of like, oh, good Lord, I didn't know that. So it's very important that we just try and be as informed of a consumer as we possibly can be. And that's why I'm out here to kind of to spread the word. But let's go
Yeah.
back to diphenhydramine. Like that is an antihistamine, also known as Benadryl. And whenever it comes to antihistamine, well, histamine is our wake promoting hormone. And if we do an antihistamine, then that's promoting sleepiness. But, and I want to be very clear when I say this, whenever it comes to Benadryl and using diphenhydramine for long periods of time, it has been associated, not saying caused, associated with neurodegenerative disorders. Long-term use. Yes. So I have people come to me and they're like, yeah, I've been using Benadryl for the past 2 decades and I'm so excited to work with you. And I'm like, first and foremost, please stop that because after only 3 nights,
Oh,
it becomes a
gosh.
placebo.
Oh, gosh. Right. I want to say first, I love that the very top of the pyramid is the medical intervention.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we could talk. We only got to like light, sunlight, and caffeine for
I'm
all the things
sorry.
that can make. No, don't be. I mean, I just realized how deep each one of these topics go, and
Yes.
uh, how hard it is to get away from a lot of it. Like you have to put effort into making your room better. You have
Mm-hmm.
to go outside and make sure you get enough sunlight. The caffeine conversation on its own could take an hour. And so
Oh,
and
yes.
now if you're even doing those things but you can't sleep and you have nightmare, like I really underestimated that there's 40 different things that you need to be aware of as well. But
Yeah.
so if you go right to the Benadryl, which like you said is a real problem,
Mm-hmm.
and then but you want to start at like a Xanax or whatever all
Yes.
those other ones, I don't even know what they're called, but like that is a real problem that I'm sure has a lot of cascading knock-on effects that you have to deal with down the road as well, where why don't you try the 40 things first that you can
Mm-hmm.
do with your life and your environment and then move on to something that really messes with the brain. Again,
Yes.
I'm not a clinician, and I'm just a little bit anti-drugs unless you need to take them. But it's so nice to hear professionals say that can prescribe saying the same thing.